Howdy, Fluffbutts, it's me, FaolanCortez Cult. Today is something special, because it's about time that I did a video like this one. I am going to be ranking the very best and top 15 episodes from Tell Your Tale. Ranking every episode has been a mega challenge, while taking story quality, musical enjoyment, levels of characterization, location choices, and world continuity into account. Trust me, there are so many. My top 15 are the ones that I regard as the most meaningful, most fulfilling from a narrative standpoint, and generally just a ton of fun. A few hot picks are included as well, so watch out! Before we get started, I want to give some honorary mentions to the episodes that didn't manage to make it onto the list, but I knew I had to give them some credit. Despite not being up to supreme standards, I have soft spots for this handful of stories. The Game is a Hoof is admittedly one big shitpost episode centered on the introduction of Zip's visor, but I find it very hilarious when she interrupts her friend's movie night over a trivial problem. The different events in the flashbacks were cool to see too. Izzy's sneaky attitude is lovely and right in character until she gives the visor to Zip. What a great friendship these two share, and with the reveal of the sunglasses being crushed by Zip's ass was just ridiculous. Queens for a Day solidified Queen Haven being the best mother any pony would want. All of her hard work and daily duties falling on the main five's hooves was humorously chaotic fun. The variety of disasters shown in Rapid Session worked well to show how much Haven goes through. I loved Sunny, Izzy, Hitch, Zip and Pip's generosity into helping a struggling mother out. Even the ending was so sweet to watch every pony gathered around the table and Haven offering the same amount of kindness back. Ponykind Parademonium is unique in being a cool twist on Opaline and Misty's experiments with capturing Sparky. All of Hitch's critters turning into hungry zombie-like animals was equally action-packed and comedic as hell. The Mardi Gras theme was really aesthetic and added a flair of unity, especially when the girls showed up to save their stallion by the end. The notion of using hair dryers is so stupid, but it's childishly creative and funny nonetheless. Every aspect of the episode is awesome fun, and it's TUES Day. I admit I was too harsh on this episode originally. After several rewatches though, I realized that it's actually pretty good. This episode is neat at further exploring Izzy's loneliness with her past and the wonderful introduction of Senior Butterscotch. I can't believe I found him annoying at first. Both of their antics around the bay is good mischief with each and every dismissive stare they get. Seeing Izzy's friends finally warming up to spare the time to spend it with Izzy's tradition was charming. It drives the story full circle to not display them in a bad spotlight. This episode undoubtedly is one of the better Izzy episodes. Its TUES Day will forever be my prime example of hasty assumptions. Alrighty, now that the honorary mentions are done and out of the way, without further ado, let's begin the top 15 episodes of Tell Your Tale! This episode sets the foundation for G5's world building, and ironically, it throws out the old and brings in the new with a big smile. Phyllis Cloverleaf legit doesn't show up after this until her cameo in Top Remodel. If you ask me, Main Melody could have been a great opening episode to Tell Your Tale too. Pip Petals gives one of her best performances only 5 episodes into the series. It certainly enlightened me better to accepting her as a main protagonist. A joyful introduction to the salon with an upbeat musical, no matter how many times it gets played to death later on down the line, sets the story off with a blast. Even Posy Bloom's mid-rating, internally offending Pip was comedic all the same. The wide variety of hairstyles were colourful and gave many scenes a fresh feel, definitely showing the potential of the new animation style. When Phyllis slammed open the door, the episode unexpectedly got a little tense, and I loved that. Phyllis acting like the typical overcritical arbiter while indirectly stressing Pip out gave me a good chuckle. The lesson about being confident in everything you have a passion towards was fairly interesting. As long as you have faith in your abilities and trust those around you, you'll excel at almost everything. Making Zip the voice of that was a wonderful choice. If anyone's gonna get through to Pip, it would be her own sister. It may have been nice to see Phyllis with a different hairstyle, but it's actually alleviating that it stays the same. People like Phyllis would prefer the normality and nostalgia instead of embracing change. Therefore, she gives the salon a good review while still keeping the usual hairstyle. Main Melody is a strong episode that still holds up today. Good stuff! The episode that acknowledged Jazz Hoof's potential, and my god did it show itself so expressively here. I believe All That Jazz is one of the most visually and aesthetically appealing episodes out of the lot. The moral of inspiration combined with an insecure Jazz and her Hoofacure interest was interwoven brilliantly. It speaks levels to those who rely on online references and encourages them to build up their own confidence. Not to mention Izzy jumping in and giving her a helping Hoof throughout the duration of the episode. Izzy's inclusion was so empathetic, knowing that she too is a crafty individual and would be able to understand and boost Jazz's courage of trying out her own designs. I'd go so far to exclaim that this episode hands Izzy the spotlight of a lifetime. This is her greatest solo act in Tell Your Tale. The fact we got to spend a decent amount of time in Bridalwood's tea room was terrific. Seeing all of the characters we got to know in one place was comforting. It may have looked a bit goofily comical, but the cinematography in this scene with the floating musical notes, wild backgrounds, and jazzy music was simply eye-ear candy. All of this vibrancy defines the title, All That Jazz. The Believe It musical gives extra context to the plot with trying something new and taking a chance. You've got to grab your creativity and take it by the hooves. Jazz unquestionably achieved that, and the epilogue was earned wholeheartedly, with tons of customers ready to paint their hoofs to the moon and back. All That Jazz is the kind of story that every background character in G5 deserves. Fair play, Alex. Sunny Starscout hits a home run and out of the park with this absolutely adorable Christmas story. There's no denying that Fall Food is one of those episodes that we so needed to give some extra relatability to the main five. The innocent nature of this episode was perfect for the holiday season. Even if it wasn't aired during Christmas, I think it would have worked on a normal day too. It's such a small and simple plot that works on a big scale to an emotional degree. Sunny wanting nothing but the best for Izzy, Hitch, Zip, and Pip on Winter Wish Day was so affectionate. It hands Sunny that slice of characterization which proves that she is someone of adoring serenity to be around. She's not only a smoothie making pony, Sunny can rather be an efficient baker too, and having the main protagonist of the generation possessing ordinary interests is cute and doesn't over-exaggerate her in any way. Her swift journey around Equestria to learn how to cook Figgy and Alphabetals cookies was greatly engaging. That All I Want for Christmas themed song was nice too. Sunny and Figgy's light-hearted banter with each other was hilarious, and watching Sunny perform all those ludicrous rituals while baking with Alphabetal continued to make me smile. Even her breaking into Zephyr Heights to steal a cookbook was funny too, without the guards and Havens suspecting a single thing. Then the climax kicks in fabulously, with Sunny growing ever more motivated to bake the treats. And finally, that Ratatouille reference blew me away, seeing the main five back in the day as youngsters, reminding themselves of the good feelings they had in the face of a cruel world. Oh man, Fall Food can truly warm up my heart any time of the week. And here I thought baby ponies would actually be eaten in this episode. Oh man. I think this episode is severely underrated. It is entitled to a second chance from pretty much everybody. Another Pony's Trash is rightfully what dumpster diving should have been in the first place. The implementation of a realistic commonplace hassle without it being overcomplicated was glorious. Everyone must do their part to maintain cleanliness within their own living space after all. I adore how this episode resonated with me, and with a past memory I share with my best friend Connor, I found myself closely relating to this episode, as I too have provided help for my community several times before when I was a teenager. This gave me a nice reminder that moral decency is ultimately an effective launchpad to bringing friends and the public together. I wouldn't be surprised if this episode ends up being a PSA in the future, because it's that superb in storytelling. Shoving in almost every background character we know of into this episode was a clever portrayal of this exact message. Even seeing Posey not being a bitch for once and taking charge of the town was very satisfying. She was farcical as well, with that opening gag of sending pushy complaints about the state of the town. It reminded me of that moment in the first special when Posey entered the sheriff's office and it turned out that she was the one sending all of those darn notes in the bin. The cleanup montage intercut with the catchy music and everyone teaming up together to save the remaining reputation of Maritime Bay was remarkable. There's tons of impressive shots and visuals spread throughout to make the episode sparkle in style, particularly when Sunny's alicorn form bursts free. In my opinion, I think there needs to be a litter pickup day in every city and town. Now there's a reason to be proud of her and everyone in Another Pony's Trash. I highly recommend giving this awesome episode more praise. Sorry, but I'm a little biased to this one, for plainly obvious reasons. A Stormblazer story? A Stormblazer song? An Anthrobun with an exhausting habit of multiplying? Now you've got me extremely immersed. The Hunt for Eggman Bunny is at heart a classic Easter-style story, as it turns out to be a breaking point in establishing a more diverse Equestria. Discovering that bigger anthropomorphic animals still exist was a pleasant surprise. If rabbits can be bipedal, the vehement curiosity for more characters like Eggman is left open to the imagination. The fantastic mayhem in Zephyr Heights was a joy to see unfold, and it definitely made me laugh. Specifically with the joke of eggs exploding in the toilet behind closed doors. To me, this episode is undeniably one of the most humorous. The crown jewels of the episode, Zip and Hitch, work so vigorously as a duo. Not to forget Sparky's bright inclusion for extra engagement between all the characters. Well, I guess I'm about to go ham on this, aren't I? Zip's bold enthusiasm for the mission to have a rush of adventure and adrenaline, alongside Hitch's profound empathy for comprehending Eggman's situation of being a father, is fucking gorgeous. Both of their temperaments bounce off of each other like magic, and their song Don't Lose Your Groove became the biggest highlight of the episode entirely. The visuals underground, on a river, down a waterfall, and across an abyss were magnificent. JJ and Maitrayi's voices combined together, full of energy for their characters' musical. They are cute, zestful, and I know for a fact that they are just a secretly old married couple. The epilogue was wonderful to see Eggman warming up to the idea that he can acceptingly pivot on others, no matter if he was just going through a furry midlife crisis. Even his voice rambling on throughout the credits was a shock too, reminding me of Quibblepants in the ending of Stranger Than Fanfiction. I do wish the Hunt for Eggman Bunny lasted a few minutes longer, because this episode fucking rocks! Oh yes, this is Opaline's masterpiece. Who would have thought an episode that mainly features Opaline Arcania by herself would be spectacular? Opaline alone is an episode that we deserved, and what Opaline desperately needed. In all honesty, there shouldn't have been any inclusion of the main five at all in this episode. It was delightful to witness the alicorn in her most nefarious and wickedly whimsical element. Everyone has hugely wondered what on earth Opaline does in her free time when whenever Misty isn't around, and the story handed us those answers on a golden platter. With the main role given to Opaline by herself, the runtime doesn't feel cluttered up or like a game of character tag. It's smoothly paced, and yeah, sure, it's a big piss take on her role as an antagonist, but it works amazingly in character for Opaline. Even the song named after her is extremely addictive, along with the many gloomy and egomaniacal scenes that put her flamboyance under the limelight. It's a priceless contrast to how she is perceived later on with hoofy cures and doing a TV marathon, displaying a softer side of her demeanor, despite the amusing attitude. Athena Arcanis' voice is beyond excellence for giving Opaline's voice a hint of spice and a dash of arrogance. You can't help but love her and hate her simultaneously throughout the episode. Not to forget the havoc that Opaline gets into with the raccoon from Ponykind Paranemonium. As much as she wants to destroy the main five, she too has a lot to learn about how to deal with a crisis, even as small as a critter invading her personal space. It's rather ironic if you think about it, as she is always after Sparky and consistently failing. Jeez, Opaline alone is the perfect main 5 light episode. It slaps hard! Damn. I remember everybody freaking out over this one because they saw their waifu reduced down to being a costume. A gigantic amalgamation of costumes, references, characters, and disarray makes this episode so dreamy. Nightmare Night Party is the ideal Halloween episode thanks to its significant focus on creating a frenzied atmosphere that defines the very spirit of the holiday. There's no need in trying to explain how adorably and spookily every pony dresses up, as each of them have a costume that anyone would love. I personally have a likeness to Red Archer Zip and Misty pulling out the Masquerade Bull costume months early. The wildfire of prankster-like activity coming from Misty crashing the party was energetically immersive. She had fun in the moment, making a mockery of the party by ruining everything, even if it was due to Opaline's assertiveness. I was imagining Opaline showing up for realsies and making a real Nightmare Night Party out of the party. Plus, the Monster Party song playing underneath all of the increasing disorderly fun truly was the icing on the cake. The creepy rhythm and the Michael Jackson thriller-esque lyrics coincide joyfully with the events going down. Even the ending was sublime, with everyone still happy to get the party going up again and embracing Misty with open hoofs. It's marvelous how this episode doesn't need a strong story to prove itself worthy of a watch. At its very core, I believe this episode is one party we all wish we can participate in, and I think that's what made this click with so many people. Nightmare Night Party is sure to spook your socks off exceptionally. The episode that introduced the Crystal Bright House, and it is a banger! For being the first episode uploaded, but second one in chronological order, it set such a magnificent opening impact on the series. This bottle episode is one of a kind for both making a mess and shining with pride. It could be considered one of Sunny's most highly acclaimed stories for how much it continues her optimistic conduct from a new generation. You can't forget how stunningly it brings in Jenna Warren as Sunny's new voice actor. She was the most befitting choice to carry the torch from Vanessa Hutchings. It's natural that Izzy, Hitch, Zip, and Pip would be excited to move in with each other. It's a brand new start for everyone in the episode, and including you watching. The plot of the episode displays that solidly to a T. The escalation of sleek renovations playing above the esteemed Work 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 song suited the overwhelming flurry of exhilaration, and it really kept me on the edge of my seat. You can't blame Sunny's friends too much for their hyperactivity, as it's meant only with meaningful intentions. If Sunny can forgive them in a flash, then so can you, as it's nothing serious, and I absolutely love that. The penultimate scene with Argyle's photograph tugged at my heartstrings going off of the movie's ending. The lesson of working together with one another can still be achieved as long as you bring out the best in each other with team efforts. The ending was beautiful too, giving us a sanguine look into the future of G5 and how many new adventures there are to be unearthed. A Home to Share is just so cute. Just brilliant. Brilliant! I can't deny that I felt brutally called out while watching this one. A Day in the Life is perhaps my most relatable Tell Your Tale episode to date. This is easily Pip Petal's finest performance. I found her wonderful around every corner without her egocentric attitude interrupting the thrilling moments the plot provided. Pip Petals accurately represents my inner feelings as a content creator, always having to be on top of your game to please and entertain your audience. It is a fun experience, but ultimately it's a demanding job the more you grow and evolve. It's obvious why Pip ends up burnt out and sick by the end of the episode. Pushing yourself too far can have a mental and physical effect on your body, and I was left in surprise how Pip couldn't catch a break. It was enormously personal to watch someone as influential as Pip to go through something similar like I did when my Chapter 4 reactions were just starting up and I was really sick. The handheld camera format during the episode was an interesting style of storytelling and showing us closely how Pip lives her life online and in real life. It's considerable that half of the episode is a YouHoof video in itself, and I think that's rather quirky. The addition of the residents happily supporting Pip with her work and when she's sick was very gratifying. Now, I know that Stormblazer is my #1 ship buried under the sun, but it is indisputable that Hitch and Pip were lovable in this epilogue, especially seeing them together with Sparky and the critters surrounding them. The emotional comfort gained from this ending would cure anyone's illness. A day in the life, more like a triumph in life. Congratulations, Gretchen Mallory, on your only magnum opus. Oh boy, did you expect this episode to appear so high on this list? But it's true, Lost in Translation is outstanding. This episode is another one of those uniquely formatted stories, giving a juicy sense of characterization for Hitch Trailblazer. His newfound ability to understand the animals made as the main plot point was a notable path for the story to take. Even giving the critters lines of dialogue was smart, as it gets told from Hitch's perspective. I can't believe this confused some people who thought they actually have the instinct to speak. I loved this detail that while Hitch can apprehend the raccoons and pegasnails in clear English, when the camera brings Sunny to the forefront, it's nothing but animalistic gibberish. The importance of sharing is caring, even over something so tiny related to the animals, shows that the smallest assets can mean the dearest of sentiments. The over-exaggeration of the critters' humorous disputes with their battle formations kept me laughing through and through. Also, Hitch's first solo song, We Gotta Roll For That, that was just beautiful too, given that his new voice actor is a natural singer as well. The critters mischievously backstabbing Hitch's beliefs in the background of it all was hilarious. It's admirable how Sunny always manages to provide an optimistic helping hoof for when the going gets tough, especially for Hitch when he's overwhelmed from the fighting going on. He was nearly in tears for Christ's sake. And lastly, the ending is incredibly sardonic as the raccoons and pegasnails band together to protect their territory. What a bunch of cute and ungrateful bastards that learned their lesson in the end. I suppose you can say Sunny and Hitch got lost in translation. Fantastic episode! God. I remember this episode making me fall in love with Hitch all over again. It's such a characterization masterpiece for the stallion officer. Handing him a story centered around an excellent take on whodunit was very befitting for Hitch. Every scene he is in on screen is a highlight and a half, with plenty of Generation references to boot. Zipstorm's sidelined role is still worthwhile to watch her slowly growing curiosity that eventually sets up her future detective equivalent. Because, yeah, this was long before the first Make Your Mark special when she was made the main focus of the story. Now that's what I call character growth. The comedy in this episode is top-notch before it reaches its peak with Hitch throwing himself in jail and climaxing with the critters owning their mugshots. Oh, it's bloody amazing! For being only 5 minutes long, the pacing is incredibly solid at displaying Hitch's sanity gradually breaking down every second of the way. The inclusion of the critters being the ones behind the thievery blew my fucking mind. Of course they didn't mean it viciously, they only wanted to show Hitch the affection he really needs from being so headstrong in his work, bringing him back down to earth with a case that concerns his home and personal space. It sets up the warming impression of being a stallion of many talents, as long as he opens up to others attempting to help. Now what episode does that remind me of? Fool Me Once was and still is my top favorite episode, even though it's 5th on this list. Selena Friend, why did you leave the writing team after this one? Alicorn Issues is single-handedly Sunny's paragon, and it's the episode she deserved. The continuity nod the beginning gives to a couple of entertaining episodes filled me with joy to see the connection between those stories and this one. It's fulfilling payoff for wrapping up an explanation or two before moving on to a new start. The inventive story is intelligently woven throughout many different exciting sections that experiment with Sunny's alicorn form. It's comedy gold watching her going through each one, and her reactions were iconic as well. Hilariously enough too, Izzy, Zip and Pip were on top form with their own stylized studies for helping Sunny to control her greater power. In addition to that, I loved that the Cantalogic Factory was put to use again for dramatic value. It was the highest peak of tension before Sunny stormed off. The ending though? No lie, I couldn't stop smiling, and everything about it is flawless. Bringing in Hitch and being the touching shoulder of support for Sunny to lean on nearly made me cry. Their small chat about the need to have a slice of care for yourself and not just everyone else was gorgeous dialogue. It played splendidly into the disaster that faced a bunch of kids, and Sunny exploded with perseverance and courage. I was cheering so loudly I might have dissolved the ocean wave myself. Alicorn Issues doesn't have a single issue in sight. Selena Friend, I dearly miss you. This is the only episode so far that made me weep. Ryan Denham, you fucking star! If I could pick one episode that should have been adapted for Make Your Mark, it's instantly this one. The levels of passion and character work that went into this story is unparalleled. The discovery of Sunny's baby blanket was surprising enough, but the moment that Argyle emerged from the projector, I couldn't stop myself wanting to wallow in nostalgia. After indulging what Argyle's role meant in the grand state of events in A New Generation, it was stunning to see him posthumously continuing to prove his daughter the meaning of family. How Argyle describes chosen family with friends genuinely struck my heart. The blanket being a symbol of hope that backed up his powerful speech was the perfect climax to the episode. In a way that resembles how the main 6 were brought together by a magical connection, the same is predicted for the main 5, when each of their silhouettes are stitched onto the blanket. It brings in more fascinating mystique to how Argyle knew everything when Sunny was just a baby. It's a curious hook into a potential sequel, perhaps. Not to forget about the hysterical journey that the main 5 go on to retrieve the missing blanket pieces. Both of the scenes that occur back to back, with Zip and Pip ruining Queen Haven's throne, alongside Bridlewood's crystals throwing in a game of Simon Says. It's such an entertaining twist on the mystery at play that requires each of the friends' assistances to complete them. It segues into the sweetest epilogue, with Argyle hugging baby Sunny and Sunny doing the same with her newfound friends. Oh, Star Scout Code is outstanding. Thank you, Ryan Denham. Thank you! Goodness me, what an unbelievably jarring experience this episode threw our way. I knew it was only a matter of time when Tell Your Tale cranked itself up to the max and created something so chilling. It's frankly unkind to give As the Misty Clears a score lower than an 8 out of 10, because this is like a fanfiction given flesh. Misty's ominous necklace playing such a significant role in the story that affects our heroes mentally in the most negative way is nothing nothing short of perfection. I really wish we could have gotten more bewildering activity with the necklace in the episodes. It's equally dark, hilarious, gripping, and shocking to witness the main five being possessed by Opaline's deviltry. Each of them undergoing the enchantments with the stakes rising produces serious enjoyment for the more mature viewer. Tyrant Zip being a more corrupted version of her mother is my personal favorite of the bunch. Even listening to Izzy putting an upsetting spin on her rhyme from Fit Right In was just captivating. You just know that every one of the voice actors getting the exclusive chance to truly twist their voices into something ferocious is something special. Misty gets the limelight of her life as her character knocks her performance out of the park with an amazing showcase of character evolution. The angel and devil puppetry at the start was clever imagery to show Misty's indecisions with Opaline still lurking on her shoulder. It was extraordinary watching Misty finally snapping and having enough and freeing her friends from Opaline's grasp by the end. Not to mention when Misty drops the necklace down the cliffside, breaking it Titanic style. God, that was just gorgeous! The gloomy and ominous visuals, the possession of the main five, the hoof-biting story, Misty standing up for herself and her friends, and the ironic ending with the dark magic still lurking. Oh, as the Misty clears, it's fucking tremendous! Yep, this is still the #1 best episode out of them all so far. Zip's flight school might as well be considered Tell Your Tale's acclaimed characterization sensation for how much it embodies Zip Storm as arguably the most favored protagonist. Her performance is staggeringly perfect for everything that shows her as the one character with the most reliance and dignity. The wonderful development she goes through in toughening up how to teach Zoom, Thunder, Windy, and Fifi to fly proficiently is hugely respectable, since it's only the 3rd episode into the series and coming off of the ending from A New Generation. It's the ideal character growth in using Zip to spread her vast knowledge and confidence onto others that needed for basic survival. The way the episode slowly explores how each and every one of the characters in how they feel about flying was a bold choice in the runtime, knowing the limitations. It gives the background characters a moment to shine as well, and I absolutely adored that. I know I have compared this episode to 246 Great all the time, but you've got to admit, it's painstakingly true how Zip's flight school tells that story miles better. This is practically all the reasons why Zip Storm is a more loyal idol than Rainbow Dash. Her egotistical attitude destroyed any chance she had of audience respect, and Rainbow's sudden desertion of the kids pissed me off, which is why I can sympathize with Zip's departure from her students way more personally. She did her best to help everyone be better at flying, and when the chaos broke out, it broke Zip's motivation, so she blames herself. Due to her students failing, she too would feel like a failure, unable to bear the circumstances. And when the flashback scene crashed Zip's moment of solace, my feelings went out of the window. I don't care if it was convenient. The Pegasi mother and child reminding Zip of a much happier time in the past was the exemplary reason why this episode paves the way for more Zip-centered episodes that continue to build her character exceptionally. If she can take already existing inspiration from Haven for helping her fly, then Zip can take after her mum and use that for the greater good in helping more Pegasi learn to fly. It's such a dramatic contrast to the beginning of the episode when Zip expressed not wanting followers, and by the end, she earns followers of her own that she can depend on.
Stop trying to make Zipsters happen, Pip. I don't want followers.
What irony is that? Oh my god, it's legitimately astonishing! Zip's flight school, to me, is still the greatest Tell Your Tale episode. Kudos to you, Tom Gidman. Much love and respect. And And that's my top 15 picks for the best Tell Your Tale episodes so far. Perhaps next year, when season 2 gets released, I shall make another one. Next video of this new series will be the worst episodes. Oh boy, that day is going to be explosive. Do tell me, Fluffbutts, what are your favourite episodes of Tell Your Tale and why? Make sure to write a comment down below and subscribe to my channel. And also, don't forget to leave a pledge on my Patreon page down in the description below, so you can help support me in making these fantastic videos more consistently. And I shall see you all very soon. Goodbye! And before this video ends, I would like to shout out my Silver Fluffbutt patrons, Louise Wade and Alex Smith, and my Gold Fluffbutt patrons, Darth12 and the Pate and Grara Foltrisky. Thank you very much for your love and support.